Welcome to Ballet Express. So I thought during this time, seeing as we all stuck at home, we are going to do my pre-class warm-up. So for me, these exercises that I do, it might not work for you, but I thought it might be good to show you guys. Maybe you could incorporate some of these things into your warm-up routine or just add them into your exercises that you would like to do. So give it a try. Just remember, what works for me might not work for you and vice versa. So just keep that in mind because everybody's body is different and warms up differently, mobilizes differently, and also works differently. So yeah, let's get started.
This is the very first thing I do when I get into the studio. Lay down on the floor, take my leg and gently twist it over to the other side, loosening up my lower back and also just releasing up into my shoulder. It's a very relaxing stretch and it just helps wake the body up first thing in the morning before class.
So this exercise really opens up my shoulders because, as I explained, I have a very bad posture, and that's because my pectoral muscles are pretty tight. So it pulls my shoulders forward like this. So I like to stretch out all these muscles here just so that I can open up my shoulders, and also this is a really nice exercise to mobilize your spine. The next exercise I like to do is to warm up my spine.
How I start is I put my hands directly next to my shoulders and then just gently push up, making sure that my head is in line with my neck and not leading with the back of my neck, leading with my head nice and long. Depends on the day how my back feels. I might do this between 5 to 10 times just to start warming up the muscles, warming up the joints in my spine. Also making sure that the neck is nice and long, shoulder blades pulling down. You really don't want to have your shoulders sitting up next to your ears because then it's going to work the wrong muscles. Last time I just come up and just give it a little bit of an extra push. Then I just lift my arms a couple of times depending how I feel, 4 times, 8 times, just how I feel. Then I like to go up to third position, and on the last time I like to hold it. Then what I do, just to really wake it up, I call these reverse sit-ups. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do the first way like this, where you are clasping your hands behind your back and using your hands to pull you up. And then the other way is putting your hands behind your head. This is the more difficult way. And then you come up. And you've got to try keep your feet on the floor as much as possible. As you can see, my feet are lifting off the floor, but you want to try and keep them on the floor as much as you possibly can. In my spare time, I like to do that a lot more times. But just for now, to warm up just a couple of times and just stretch it out just to release those muscles that have just been activated. Otherwise it gets into a bit of a cramp.
The next thing I like to do is use my TheraBand, and I use this also just to loosen up my shoulders and just get my upper body going. I like to fold it in half so that it gives it a little bit more resistance. So it really gives it that nice stretch that I'm looking for. So I like to go about shoulder distance apart. Depends on how flexible your shoulders are. Like I said, everyone's different. So let's go. Keep the arms stretched.
This is a very challenging exercise for me. I've always had really tight shoulders and really tight upper body, so I found this exercise has really helped me kind of definitely loosen up my upper body, but it's helped me with my port bras and also with my arabesque. It just helps me achieve that higher leg that I'm looking for, but most importantly, definitely helps with my port bras. That's something that has always been a weak point for me. So that's why I like to do this exercise, so that my shoulders have the best range of movement for port bra.
The next one I like to do, just to activate my lats, and without the shoulders pulling up like this, shoulders down, rib cage in, and just use the lats to pull down, and try not to do release like this, because that's not going to do anything.
Now, the key to this exercise is to really make sure that your head and neck is all in a good alignment. And as you can see here, I'm pulling the band behind my head. That's actually wrong. You should be doing it in front of your head. Sometimes we don't realize we are doing things incorrectly until we actually see ourselves doing it. So this has also been a very good learning exercise for me too, recording this for you guys.
Then another back activation I like to use, it's also for the same lats. So elbows touching against your body, either side of your body, and not exactly shoulder distance apart. You want it a little bit closer, and shoulders open without popping the rib cage out. Pull the rib cage in close together, and you can either have your chin up or your chin down. I like to have my chin down so that I can really feel my muscles working, and using those lats, slowly pull out, and the same thing, slowly release in. Otherwise, if you just release like this, you're just losing that activation. It's just going to defeat the purpose.
This exercise with the one before really has helped improve my lats, along with some other exercises that I do in my own time. So let me know if you would like me to show you those exercises in another video.
And then just to release it, I like to stretch it out one more time. And usually it's released a little bit more, so I can go a little bit closer. For me, I have very, very tight shoulders, so I'm not very good at this.
Each of these exercises, I repeat them between 8 to 10 times, just depending how much time I have before class.
So for me, that's a pretty good exercise, just to get my shoulders open so that I'm not standing at the bar with my arm in second position with this rolling forward. That tends to happen to me. I really want to pull that shoulder back. Moving on to the next exercise, very, very important, the stomach exercises. So I like to do this around this point in my warm-up, just so that I can start getting my blood flowing and pumping, so my muscles can start to get warm. Then I can do a little bit of a stretch and a mobilization, because it's not very good to stretch when you're cold, because that is when you can injure yourself. And we all know I've had a lovely injury that's kept me out for about 3 years, so I don't want you guys to get injured. This is the reason why. So same thing, like my back exercises, I like to do only a couple of these stomach exercises before class, because they can be quite strenuous and really tiring, and class is tiring enough. But for now, let's just do my warm-up. So, fingers crossed.
So similar to the back exercises, really make sure that the neck and the shoulders are pulling down, so that your shoulders are not sitting up by your ears like earrings. And you want to come up as much as you can off the floor. Like me over there, I could do a lot more, but do this about 10 times. And then we go into the side crossing. Also, I should be coming off the floor a lot more, and also do this about 10 times. Like I mentioned with my arabesque exercises, I don't like to do all the exercises before class, because then it makes you tired. So I do the same thing with my stomach. Then I go on to my leg raises. Very, very important here. You should keep your spine completely flat on the floor. As you can see, for me, I have a slight gap. I really should be pushing my spine closer to the floor. You can either have your hands behind your head, next to your body either side, or you could put your hands underneath your butt, just to elevate your hips a little bit and to take a bit of the pressure off of your spine. Then I just hold a couple of seconds off the floor just to activate it, and then I die. Then these James calls the Australian Army sit-ups. And you will see in a couple of moments I'm going to be struggling a little bit. These are actually really difficult. You got to really use your whole entire stomach to sit up, and make sure when you are coming down onto the floor you are rolling down through your spine. You don't want to slap your spine onto the floor, because then you can start to injure your spine. Really rolling up and down through your spine, but using your stomach muscles to come up, and not like me lifting my feet off the floor. Keep your feet on the floor.
So as you can see, I'm already getting a little bit puffed and a little bit tired, but this is really good to activate those stomach muscles. Something I forgot to mention, the reason why I like to mobilize my back first and then do my stomach exercises, because when you are stretching out your back in this position, you're stretching out those stomach muscles, and there's no point in activating those muscles and then just doing an exercise to stretch it out. Now that I've given myself a little bit of a rest.
These ones are pretty tiring. You got to twist 7 times and then pause on the 7th one for about 4 seconds. And just repeat that 10 times. Same with all my other stomach exercises, 10 times for everything. And this one really helps with the cardio and starts getting that heart pumping and getting me a little bit warmer. And as you can see, I should be lifting my shoulder blades a little bit higher off the floor. So just bear that in mind when you are trying these out.
And then bicycle.
So the bicycle, you want to try and get your legs almost just off the floor, and about 20 of them. You can also challenge yourself and do it for a minute or 30 seconds, but I just like to count to 20, and then I feel like my stomach is ready and activated without being too tired for class.
Okay, so now feeling a little bit out of breath, a little bit tired, but I can really feel my stomach muscles. I can feel they're activated. Now I think I'm ready to do a little bit of a gentle stretch. So I like to start with my butt. If you have a really tight butt, which I do, it kind of restricts your movement, particularly in arabesque and in ala second. So if you're trying to get your leg higher, have a look at your butt. Maybe that is what is restricting you. So I like to start with this exercise. This my good friend Ballet gave me many years ago when we were getting ready to go to the Varna competition in Bulgaria. So thanks Galami, this has helped me my whole life, so thank you. Without slouching your back like this, because that's also going to defeat the object, keep your spine nice and long and stretch forward. So depending how flexible your butt is, that's one of my problem areas. So I like to maybe do about 10 seconds, then 20 seconds, then 30 seconds. If I'm feeling alright, then I'll just go straight into 30 seconds. It just depends how tight my muscles are that day. It's also good to stretch over to the side like this. If you really want to get deep into that muscle, stretch over to the side. So the foot that is on top, you're going to go towards that direction of the foot. Because this way it's not really going to do anything. Really make sure you're going over that foot, that top foot. And also you can hold for about 15 to 30 seconds. Always good to do both legs evenly. Make sure you are even with the timing as well.
Another really useful thing to help loosen your glutes is to use a little massage ball. Just lie on the massage ball for a couple of seconds or even a minute, and it will also really release that muscle and help you get your leg up another second.
And then same before, over your top foot. And try to keep this hip on the floor, try not to lift it up. Another one I like to do, feet together, same thing, nice and tall, and as far as you can go. As you can see, I'm very, very tight in my glutes, especially here in the hip. Same thing, not slouching. Holding for about 30 seconds or so, 15 to 30 seconds. Then another one I like to do is the knees crossing over this way. Try and get them as straight and in line as possible, your legs. But if it hurts your knees, knowing me having my knee injury, I like to take care of my knees. So if it hurts like that, just bend it a little bit more. Same thing, long spine and stretching. You can hold your ankles, you can go forward, what is most comfortable. And the same thing with the other side. Same, about 15 to 30 seconds, just depending on the day. So once I have loosened up my glutes, then I'm ready to do a little bit of my stretch, a little bit of my hamstring and inside my hip. So to start off with that, I like to take a towel, fold it in half just to protect my knee. What I do is I place my one knee on the towel just for some cushioning. Make sure my knee is in line with my hip, so I'm not sitting back this way or too much this way, not yet. Just about 90-degree angle. Take that foot and flex it. And knee stretch, long spine, opposite foot to hand. And as far as I can go, same thing, depends on the day, depends on how stiff I am. Stand quite stiff. And just hold for about 15 to 30 seconds, no longer.
And if you want to get really deep into that hamstring, you can really arch your back and it will give you a much more painful and effective stretch.
Then I like to do a lunge. Same thing, very important for knee protection is keeping this knee in line with the heel and doing a lunge forward like this. Same, holding for about 15 to 30 seconds. And once I'm feeling a little bit more loose and mobilized, I can sit up straight, really doing a nice deep stretch. And then just a couple more seconds this way. And then not to forget the quad muscle. Depending on you, you can take the same arm or opposite arm. Make sure that the knee is in line with the hip. And also 15 to 30 seconds.
And actually, if you are loosening up your quads, it will help you out with your arabesque. That's something I have learned over the years.
And you'll see that once you've loosened that quad, this lunge goes a little bit lower. And of course, the other side. This was my injured knee, so I really like to take care of this one. Starting with our flex. This is my tighter hamstring. We all have one leg that tends to be a little bit tighter, one leg that's a bit more flexible. For me, my left leg is a lot more tighter than my right leg. So same thing, 15 to 30 seconds. Going into the lunge, knee over the heel, and then just into the lunge, just gently stretching, never ever push it too much. into the quad stretch. This side I have to be really careful with my knee. I've become very paranoid about it. Quads are quite hot today.
If you feel like this is not doing that much for you, really try and push your hip down towards the floor, and it will give you a much deeper and effective stretch. And then just release.
So once I've done that exercise, I like to just see how stiff I am that day, go into the splits, just mobilize my hips a little bit, see how they're doing, just assess the situation, what am I in for that day. Today seems to be pretty good. Just go into the splits, just mobilize the hip, and change to the other side. Then it all depends, exactly like I said, on the amount of time that I have. If I have a lot of time and I've not wasted time by sitting on the floor daydreaming, I like to stretch a little bit further, not too much. Like to put the roller under my knee just to give this a little bit of extra stretch. Maybe start assessing my back. Just gently, and then I like to change to other second. Also just stretch deep in that hip. And then change. I like to keep this knee on the roller to feel that split for those jetés. The reason why I like to keep this under my knee is because if you are putting it on your ankle and you're going into the splits, all the pressure is going onto that knee, and that is where I injured the knee. So if your two joints are like this, so you can see it's like that, it's putting a lot of pressure there and it can impinge it there. So it's a little bit better, just keep it under the knee like that. Same thing other side. Knee under the roller. Stretching up here, try to pull up the stomach as much as possible, and go forward, back depending what you need, to the side, going forward, try keeping that turnout in that leg, not rolling forward, same thing, keeping it under the knee.
Just make sure it's slightly above the knee, not directly underneath the knee, because that might be a little bit painful. So just slightly above your knee.
It also gives a little bit of a better stretch, especially for when you are doing those jetés, when you're trying to get your jeté split. This leg is the one that needs to go up the back, so just to stretch that out to get that feeling. Then if I'm really feeling flexible, especially when I was younger, this is something I like to do a lot before class, but sometimes you get old and can't always do this. This roller has been with James and I for many years. It used to be one long roller and James cut it in half, so it's really old. It's been with us to all our competitions all over the world, and I really love it. It doesn't really roll out your muscles so well anymore, it's gotten quite soft, but it's really good for stretching. It's like the perfect height. Put your foot. Try not to let it fall over. And just holding, not for too long, just maybe about 15 seconds maximum. Going forward, stretching. Going back. You want. Just feeling your position. Make sure you're always activating these muscles. Don't just relax into the muscles, because that is how you get injured. Now this is not really nice for side splits. It will topple over. Believe me, I've tried this for many years and it always falls over for side splits. So side splits, if you can find a chair or something like that, you can do it like that. Now for the not so good leg. So for me, I can really feel it on on the side. If you really want to stretch it out and there's no chair around, maybe you could borrow a friend's roller and you could put a roller on each foot. We'll try this roller. It's not exactly the same height, but just pretend it is. And you can just for a couple of seconds do this. I have a friend who's really good at this. I'm not sure if you would want me to mention him in my video, but he knows who he is. He inspired me a lot to stretch. So this roller is the best roller. As you can see, it's quite small, it's compact, it can fit in your bag really nicely. And the reason I like this roller is because it does exactly what its purpose is. To roll out. It's nice and hard.
If you feel your muscles are really tight, rollers are the best way to just loosen them up and just release them a little bit. So that's why I like this roller. I can take it with me anywhere.
So it just depends how sore I am on that day as to when I would roll out. I can do it before I start, but I like to make sure my muscles are quite warm first because then I feel it's not as painful. So once I have mobilized a little bit, I like to work my way down from my knee down. Start warming up my feet and my calves. I like to make sure my calves are the last thing I do to warm up because last year I tore my muscle and I have to, once you get an injury, it's kind of something you have for life and you always got to make sure that you maintain it and you always make sure it's warm, especially the older you get. When you have injuries, you've got to make sure it's really warm before you do any form of exercise, otherwise you really feel it and it's not really nice. So to warm up my feet, I like to just do circles, just relaxing. You can hear them cracking.
Just about 8 circles outwards and 8 circles inwards.
Maybe just, if it's a really cold day, just get some warmth to them. I usually like to keep my feet in some booties or some socks just to keep them warm, and then I take them out when I'm about to do my foot warm up just to keep my toes warm. Before I start doing any TheraBand work, I take my golf ball and I roll out my feet. Really making sure I get deep into that arch. Also depending how sore my feet are that day, depend how long I do this for. Also good to get in the heel there to release the Achilles. And for me, my tight foot. As you can see, this side really tight.
This little golf ball makes the biggest difference because one wouldn't realize how much just massaging your foot is actually going to help mobilize your foot. So I really recommend doing this every single day, whether you do it before class or any other time.
And also what's really good about using the golf ball is it just releases those muscles in your feet, which will actually give you a bit more mobility to point your feet. So if you're someone that doesn't have really nice arched feet naturally, not all of us are blessed with those kind of feet, I would really recommend using a golf ball or anything that's quite hard or a foot roller just to release those muscles before you start using them. And I promise you, once you have released those muscles and mobilized your muscles, you're really going to be able to use even more than what you think you have. So then we move on to the trusty TheraBand. So let's take off my sock. So I'm just going to show you only one side because this can be quite long and tedious. So just imagine I do the other side. This is the one that I like to do. I know everyone has their own way of doing their foot mobilization. The one I like to do, I like to put my ankle under my knee, because if it's not there, then I actually use my quad muscle to use my foot. Whereas if I put my heel or my ankle underneath my knee, then as you can see, that muscle is completely relaxed and I'm not using this muscle to work my foot. I want to use the calf and the feet themselves, all those intrinsic muscles. So I like to go my demi point and then point. Demi point and come back. And just make sure that when you go from your point and your demi point, you don't want to just release it again. You want to really make sure that you use that control to bring it up, so that you're also mobilizing and you're also strengthening your foot at the same time. You can see I have very weak ankles. It's something I really am working on at the moment. And I think that my weak ankles have caused a lot of my injuries throughout my life. Because they have been weak, I've had to use other parts of my body and they take more of the pressure. So I do that about 10 times, then I reverse it. Then I go, same thing, demi point, point, and then I keep the point and I just pull it back down. Demi point, point, and I keep the point and I come up again. Same thing, I do this about 10 times. This is why I leave it for last, because I find my feet get cold very quickly and I like to make sure my feet are really, really warm before I do class, because sometimes I like to do class in point shoes, so it's the worst feeling putting cold feet into a point shoe. So I really like to make sure my feet are warm. So once I've done that about 10 times, then I like to do just my toes. So I start demi point, point, and then just 15 quick release and points, and 1.
When you do this exercise, you should be feeling your calf muscle starting to burn a little bit, and also all the little muscles in your feet and around your ankles. That's why this is really good. It really fires up those muscles.
So like I said, there are a lot more foot exercises to do, but there's not always enough time to do them before class. I have a really good ankle strengthening exercise that has really been helping me with my balancing and pirouettes. So if you'd like to see that exercise, comment down below and I can show you those exercises. If you know James and I, we have got a little blue friend named Kilroy John. Now everyone is like, why is it called Kilroy John? Why is it called Kilroy John? So if you can see, it says Kilroy John. So James actually got this from his physiotherapist when he had one of his injuries. And this used to be a nice big square mat, but he cut it in half just to make it a lot easier to travel. This is probably one of the best friends you can ever have, Mr. Kilroy John. Kilroy John was the name of the physio or the doctor that he got this from. I can't remember if it was his doctor or the physio, but that's who Kilroy John is. It's John Kilroy, but anyway. So this, I don't usually have time before class, but I should make time for this. Same thing like before. I can show you this exercise. There's a couple of exercises you can do with this, with Kilroy John, to help strengthen your ankles and your feet muscles. So if you'd like to see that, please comment down below. So the last thing I like to do, once I've warmed up my feet, I've activated my body, I like to go to the bar. I'm not one of those lucky people at home that have a bar, so this is my trusty bar. So nothing too exciting. I just really like to stretch out, make sure my demi point is activated because I don't have the world's best demi point.
I like to go to the bar and just do a couple of walking. This really stretches underneath my foot so that I can get my demi point. And then after I've done that a few times, just stretch over a little bit. As you can see, my left foot's a little bit tight, but this really is nice and effective for class. Once I've done that, I like to do a couple of roll ups and roll downs. This really gets my calf extra warm after doing the TheraBand exercises, because something I found after tearing my calf muscle, even though it's healed, if it's not warm, I do feel a little bit of pain every now and then on demi points. So I like to do this so that I don't have pain, because no one enjoys pain when they're dancing. Then finally, I like to gently stretch it out just for about 10 seconds, no more, because I don't want to lose any of the strength that I have built up over time. So just a stretch on either side.
Especially the left one. My left one is the one I tore last year. So I really like to make sure that it's mobilized and not too tight, because that's how I tore it, is the muscle was too tight and I didn't have access to physios or anyone like that, so it tore. Then I just like to loosen up the Achilles, also about 10 to 15 seconds, not too long. Then the final thing I like to do, just release it, making sure something that's really good is to just loosen up just a few growth back ones, nothing too serious. So that is my routine before I do class. I like to do those exercises, those mobilizations, those stretches, just to get my body ready. Like I said, what works for my body might not work for you. So I hope you enjoyed this today. If there's any other exercises or things you would like some tips on that have helped me, please comment down below and we can do another video. So thanks guys, hope you enjoyed and see you next time.